Okay, candidates, let's run down the forum quickly, around the format quickly. We'll have 4 rounds, then closing statements. First, for our first round, we're going to ask each of you a question, and you'll each have 2 minutes to respond. These are individual questions. For our second round, we'll ask you the same question, but we'll only give you a minute to respond. We'll repeat that for a second time for round 3 and 4, 2 minutes and then 1 minute. And then we'll have closing statements of 1 minute each. So please keep your eye on our timekeeper here. Once again, he will signal on the amber light, or the yellow light if you prefer. 15 seconds to go. The red light will signal times when I get a little bit touchy and start cutting you off. Okay? So we'll start with our general question. We'll just go in order down the line here, starting with Mr. Shreve. Growth and development are central themes of this and just about every other campaign for county office. If you would outline broadly for us your positions on growth and development, whether too fast, too slow, too much, too little, or just right.
Well, first of all, the county commissioners don't build houses. So it's the market that creates demand, and that's where actual houses are sold. But I don't think many people understand where growth comes from. Every 10 years they do a census, and the federal government says, Maryland, you're going to grow by this many people, and the state planning department comes to you and says, okay, Frederick County, you're going to get this many people. And it's been decided by many boards in the past that our 20-year plan is 1,500 houses per year. So our board, growth has been very slow. It's been the worst economy since the Great Depression. We haven't built more in our term than they have since, we've only built as many houses in our term as they have in the 1960s. So it's less than 1,000 units per year. Our 20-year plan, which was approved by the previous board, was 1,500 units per year. So right now, if you take 20 times 1,500, it's about 30,000 units should be in the pipeline. We're nowhere near that. We're way less than that. So actual growth and development planning comes from the census, comes from the state, and it's trickled down to the county, and that's where a 20-year plan comes from.
Thank you very much. Ms. Jessica.
Oh, same question?
Same question,
okay.
all the way down the line.
I mean, I've seen where Frederick County's been, and I mean, growth, there was an APFO, or put into place for a reason, growth back in the early 90s. And that was because we saw growth coming to Frederick County. And I think we need to focus and keep growth in areas where infrastructure is available, where there are identified growth areas, as was in and follow the comp plan. As Mr. Shreve said, we have enough in the pipeline for about 20 years, but growth has an impact on a lot of different things. And when you're impacting schools in a negative way, when you're impacting roads in a negative way, when and a lot of commerce can't get around, that affects business. I'm a big advocate for bringing jobs to Frederick County, and I think we will need a certain amount of growth in order to accommodate those jobs. But I think we also need to respect the people that put their minds together and put the 2010 comprehensive plan in place. I don't think we need to finance development, take taxpayer money to finance growth. I think doing that for residential growth is wrong. It's not the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for commercial growth. But I'm against taking taxpayer money to fund growth in that mechanism. A lot of things have been done in the last 4 years to accommodate growth, to accelerate things. We already had enough growth, residential housing things in the pipeline. We just came through a horrible economy. People were losing their jobs. And this was a time, now we're seeing growth and estimations of growth that's actually declining in Frederick County. So when you see numbers like that, you have to sit back and pause, and you have to look what you've done. The redoing of the comp plan in 2012 got rid of a lot of restrictions to allow growth to spur. And I think those things will have a long-term negative impact on the county. I tend to be a bigger picture type of person. I look at the bigger picture and look at the impact of decisions that you're making on a daily basis and what it'll be like long-term. So I believe, it's going to have, if it continues like it is, it's going to have a negative impact.
Thank you very much. Mr. Otis.
We just heard the candidates for school board all were kind of, maybe not all of them, but most of them were hoping that there would be more money from the county council. Now, you can't have it both ways. If you don't want growth, there's not going to be an increase in the county's treasure to have fancier schools or better courses. I'm a strong supporter of education. I want that to be crystal clear. I know the advantages I got from getting a degree at the university and what it's done for me in my life, and I want that advantage to be to every student going through our schools. But the balancing act between growth and the need for the budget to grow some so that we have the funding that people want for more things for our students, and I want the best, you're going to have growth. Now, it's the pace of growth. You know, I don't want to wake up some morning and look out the back and see a whole new development there. That would be just like Montgomery County. And if I ask you to raise your hands tonight, how many of you came from Montgomery County at one time to live here, a lot of you would raise your hands. I did that at the fair. And I'd ask people, where did you come? How long you been in Frederick County? And they would invariably tell me they came here from Montgomery County. If we have growth that develops communities where you know your neighbor and you're not stacked upon one on top of one another, that's reasonable growth. But, you know, it has to be managed. And I'm all for managing it. I want good growth in the right areas where we're planning for it because we need it to expand what we want to do for our schools and roads as well.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Norris.
Growth and change in and of themselves are not bad things. We only need to take a look at the paper today to see how important it is to continue to have businesses growing in our community and to be attracting new businesses to our community because we're vibrant and we're thriving. We don't need to see businesses leaving the community because they're globally going elsewhere or because there has been some obsolescence in jobs. And growth is one of our solutions to that. I agree also that we need to have community growth areas and we need to focus our growth in those community growth areas. The current board has not always done that with all of the projects that they've approved in the last 6 months, and I have a problem with that because I think we're going to pay for that down the road. I also think that we need to put the citizens back in charge of the process. When you look at the developer responsibility agreements that have recently been approved and the rezonings, what those have done is given the developers the certainty that they were looking for as part of the reason for having these DRAs. But what it didn't do was give the citizens enough in return for those. And what I propose is regional advisory councils, and those would be in every planning region of the community. And if there was a rezoning or a DRA that would come before the commissioners, before it even is crafted with the staff, this regional advisory council would sit down with the developer and with the staff and figure out what the community envisions for those projects and the needs for those projects so that we have good planning and good trades in terms of what the community gets in return for the DRA. I also believe that we need equilibrium and we need a balance between businesses and residential growth. And as I said earlier, if we have businesses leaving and we're not a thriving community, you only have to look to Hagerstown to see what could happen if we don't have replacements for the businesses that are leaving. So I want to be an independent voice and I want to balance the certainty that the property owners and the developers would like to have with the needs of the community.
Very good, thank you. Now we're going to move on to our next round, which I'll be asking each of you a specific question. And we're going to start with Mrs. Norris at the end and come down the line this way in reverse order. How would you assess, Mrs. Norris, the county's attitude to economic development? What more can be done, and what industries should we be looking to attract here?
There are many industries right now that we are missing because our economic development department has been hamstrung because the budget has been cut so much that our people can't even go outside of the county because they don't have enough money to join the chambers of other communities, to visit other states and find out what the businesses are doing in those states and what businesses might want to be moving to Frederick County. I will say that when I ran 4 years ago, I was in favor of many of the policies that have come about because of this board that are called business-friendly policies. I saw a lot of need for more streamlined permitting, for more customer-friendly service to our businesses. What I have seen missing in this current board is a reach out to large companies to understand what the trends are, as whether it's our community aging and needing more aging services and aging businesses. So we need to look at environmental businesses, aging businesses, biotechnology, and many other areas that are right now going by the wayside under the current Economic Development Office.
Very good, thank you. Our next question goes to Bud Otis. Ethics, attitude, and character have all become part of this county-wide debate. We can't legislate attitude and character, but what about ethics? Are the county's ethics laws satisfactory?
No, and I say that with some reason of understanding the issue. I served as chair of the Ethics Commission for the county for almost 2 years. I resigned when I was going to run for office. I believe that the Ethics Commission needs to have more independence from the new county council and the new county executive. You know, currently, for instance, I'm going to give you one example. If we were all elected and we had an ethics issue, it wouldn't apply to the elected people. I think that's wrong. I think when I serve, I ought to be under the same ethic rules of every employee of the county. No exception. And that's one rule I would like to see changed. There are other things that I think need to be done. The method of choosing the people is another big one.
Thank you very much. And now we come down to Mrs. Jessie. Do you believe our transportation network will be able to keep up with planned growth, and what's on your priorities list for projects to fund?
There's less money in the Maryland State Fund and less money funneling through from the federal for transportation than we used to have in the past. I think the last time the county actually paid for road was years ago, and that was, I believe it was Crestwood Boulevard. Because there is less money coming from the Fed to the state, to the county, we have to make choices. And the choices are, we've done a really good job, and the county must continue to do this, is work very closely with the city on transportation projects. The state is expecting this, and this is something we must continue to do. There's different things that were cut. The county gave up a highway user revenue, year-to-year basis. We lost that. There was a building excise tax that was adopted in 2001 to take care of building stage transportation issues. The Board of County Commission brought that to zero. So there's a lot of things that we must partner with the city, and we must work closely with the state to bring those dollars back to the county. It's been done before, and it can be done again, and as long as we work together.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Shreve, is the county doing everything it can to boost job creation, and what measures would you support to help boost that job creation?
Absolutely. What we're doing is we're making Frederick County a business-friendly environment. What happened when we took office is businesses, when they want to move here, they call us. We go out and meet with them. We met with several biotechs that have been here for years, some of the biggest companies in the world. And they said, you know, under the previous boards, we would have never expanded, never even talked about it. We sat down with them, sat down with their planning departments, and because of our meetings and because of our attitude towards business, they plan to expand. So hopefully we can make that happen. We're spending plenty of money on it. We're improving the roads. We're building 3 interchanges right now. We have more road construction going on than ever in history, even though the state cut $19 million from our road budget. We have developed partnerships with the private sector and the city. Right out here on Mater Avenue at TJ High School, that was a partnership project. So any dirt you see moving in Frederick County is because of this board, and it's because of the partnerships we've created that have allowed us to do that.
Very good, thank you, and pithy too. We'll be moving on to another round of general questions. This is our 3rd round. We'll be giving you 2 minutes to answer. And what we'll do is we'll be mixing up the order a slight bit. We're going to go with Mr. Otis, Ms. Reeder, and then we'll move outside to Mrs. Norris, and then end with you, Mr. Reeder. So, of all the items the County Council will deal with as it convenes in December, what's first on your legislative list? In other words, should you be elected, what bill are you most eager to file in your first 100 days, Mr. Otis?
Well, I think you had a clue just a minute ago. I I really seriously would like to have the first bill enacted by this county council stating our ethics position. I think it's important that people know immediately what the rules are in our county, and I think every person elected and employee of the county ought to be on the same page and abide the same rules. It's only fair. It really breeds cynicism in the minds of people when you talk to them and you explain that disparity that's been there. I don't know that it was planned. It was just one of those things that probably somebody didn't pay attention to. But you know, you're going to have a county council now with 7 members, and most likely there's going to be a mix of both parties. And once the election's over, I hope that the partisan politics can be put aside, and we can work together for the good of this is a great county. I think it's one of the best counties in the state. And I'd like to see it be the same way as far as our politics are concerned, how we treat each other and how we conduct our business. I'd like to see it done in a very civil way so that when we may disagree, I may disagree with Susan or Linda, but we don't need to be disagreeable. And when we walk out of the room, I want to make sure we're still friends. And I've enjoyed campaigning with these 2 ladies and with Billy. And I would like to see the same spirit go right into the council when we start on December 1. I'm going to do my very best for you. I love this county, and I want to see us work together.
Thank you. Mrs. Ruda Jesse, you were next, right?
So does it just come on? We're losing jobs. We're losing jobs every day in Frederick County, all the time. We're losing jobs in the scientific sector, and we've done a poor job the last 4 years of getting out there. The thing I've learned in my business development background is you don't wait for the call to come in. You go out there and you get a business development advisory council like we once had that was dismantled, and you get their free advice, and they'll give you information that no one else has about what companies are doing, what companies are thinking to come here. So my first legislation, several things would be bring back the VDAC, bring back that committee, that free advice from the experts in their fields. I would also like to bring back funding to FITCI. I was on the original board to the Frederick Innovative Technology Center, and I'm very proud of how many hundreds of jobs that created. I've traveled throughout the U.S. traveling to these incubators while I was in the cities. It is always does best by public-private partnership. That's how they survive. Biotech is tough. You can't put an incubator, you can't put a laminar fluid in your garage. There's infrastructure that's required in order to grow the biotech center. I have the knowledge of the scientific industry with my degree, and I have the business background of knowing that sector. But we need a diversified base, industrial base, like we had years ago when Marie Keegan was head of economic development, that brought those companies in, that brought Bethel in, that made the companies grow. We need to let them go out of the county, give them the confidence they need, as any good leader would do, and give confidence in their directors to go out and get those jobs. So I would do those 2 things because, you know, there's a lot of competition out there. Everybody wants your company. Look at Bethel. It's leaving. It's leaving after coming here many years. So we haven't done well. You can't wait for that phone call. You have to go out there and see what your competition is doing. I've been there, I've done it, I've talked to CEOs to try to bring companies here. We need to do more of that, and we can do a better job.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Norris.
I don't want my first 100 days to be about me. I want my first 100 days to be about you. My priorities are organization, money, and waste. And I'll explain because I'm not Ralph Nader. And that sounds like Ralph Nader. My first order is getting our council organized and running well in this new charter government. This is an investment of time that's going to pay off, and we can't overlook it because we have to be sure we understand what issues are council issues and what issues are executive issues. Because if we don't, we're going to be facing constant confusion and infighting and indecision, and we won't even be able to get to any of this legislation or any of these issues that we want to solve. My discussions with council people from Cecil County, on whose charter ours is modeled, identified transition for those who served previously in government in commissioner government as one of the most difficult things to get over. So we need to work on that. Make sure we all know where we stand. Once we do that, it opens up our agenda time for solving important problems that are looming before us immediately, the operating and capital budgets and our solid waste program. We have a big challenge ahead of us in determining ways to balance the budget in what continues to be trying times. Because even as assessments and our income taxes are increasing, like my own household budget, we have a lot of catch up to do and a lot of investment still to make. And I want to use the Growth Task Force recommendations as a blueprint for starting to work on how we're going to balance the budget. Our solid waste program is also of critical importance. We've lost about 6 to 8 years, depending on how you look at it. And it's time to come up with alternatives in the ways that we handle our solid waste. And we have a lot of work to do there when it comes to composting, anaerobic digestion, expanding recycling, and figuring out the things that we can do to make our program more streamlined, less landfilling, and less cost. So basically, we have to determine the best method to run our government and then jump right into these issues.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reeve.
First 100 days.
What's that?
Any question?
Absolutely. Hold on. Of all the items the County Council will deal with as it convenes in December, what's first on your legislative list, i.e. what would be your first bill
Thank
in
you.
your first 100 days?
Thank you. I'm sure everyone sitting at this table knows that the public meeting to roll out our legislative agenda for what we want passed in Annapolis is December 13th. And that in Annapolis, they start passing bills the first week of January, or start working on bills the first week of January. It's over around tax day. So that means in your first 100 days, you better have everything ready to go, or it's not going to happen. So you will be passing bills your first 100 days. Fortunately for me, I've passed bills before I was ever elected. I've passed so many bills in Annapolis, I don't even know what they all are anymore. My first one was to allow impact fees to be waived so that housing could become more affordable to bona fide nonprofits. So I passed those before I ever got elected. When I became elected, I learned that the current board that was in office did not keep up with the tax policy of the surrounding counties. So the first two things that I passed is a large business tax credit for anyone who is expanding or adding employees like Montgomery County had, and a small business tax credit for the same reasons if you were expanding or adding employees like Washington County had. So at least it put us on the same playing field as everyone else. That's what I did my first term. I'll continue to do that. As this Board of Commissioners winds down, we have continually kept up the entire year the items that need to be addressed in Annapolis. The biggest one, of course, is the $1.8 billion rain tax that is looming for all Frederick County citizens. That's anywhere from $300 to $500 per property per year that the legislator is trying to shove down your throat. So we've been fighting that. We have 2 firms currently doing that. They're in litigation with the state of Maryland right now, as several counties are. And the biggest thing for me is 48% of the pollution in the Chesapeake Bay comes from the Susquehanna River coming out of Pennsylvania. And Martin O'Malley's trying to charge you for it. I won't let that happen on my watch.
Thank you very much. It brings us to our final round, in which I'll be giving you specific questions again. We'll be starting down the end of the table with you, Mrs. Norris. So, the fate of the incinerator is hanging in the balance, but our trash stream is getting any smaller. What's your vision for the future of waste disposal in Frederick County?
Thank you for that question. Since I spent 10 years as director of the recycling office in Frederick County, and I now am working for the U.S. Composting Council, which is a trade organization for composting businesses and municipalities, and we're talking large composting businesses. I think that we have a lot of alternatives in front of us. I was glad to hear that, first of all, that the incinerator that things have not worked out for it, whether it's the financing, whether it's the energy cost, all the various things that many groups and many people have brought to the table as reasons why it's a bad idea have proven to be true. So I'm extremely glad that we will have the opportunity to look at other possibilities. I see a lot of things that we can do in business recycling, in multifamily recycling, in organics diversion, which is happening across the country. More than 30% of our waste stream is organics and food waste, so we have a lot of opportunity with hospitals and institutions in the community, and a lot of opportunities to do things in a more cost-effective effective way that we have in the past.
Thank you very much. Mr. Otis, school funding has remained at maintenance of effort levels for the past few years. Should the schools continue to receive the mandated minimum? And if not, what would be your plan for providing additional funding?
I've learned not to say something if I don't know the full picture. I was very interested in this discussion tonight with the candidates for the school board and that they're coming up with a strategic plan. I would like to see what it is. I would like to sit down without a lot of preconceived ideas. I think we can sit down and have a good relationship with the school board. I don't think it needs to be adversarial, but I think we need to sit down and I'd like to hear from them exactly what their problems are, what their issue is, and then let's start with a clean slate and see if there are not ways that we can help each other, because ultimately, in the balance is our kids, and that really matters to me.
Thank you very much. Move down the table to Susan Reed or Jesse. Government services are always a point of contention. Other than public safety, what, if any, services do you believe need an overhaul, or is the county taking care of the needs of its residents satisfactorily?
A seminar several weeks ago showed the senior population, 55 and up, is the fastest growing population in Frederick County and throughout the United States. And we haven't done enough to take care of our seniors. Providing care and service to our most vulnerable members in our community is not only the right thing to do, but it's what we have to do. It's what differentiates, I think, our county from a
700 people. Those 700 people, when you go out and talk to them, they'll tell you, I'm being taxed out of my house. I bought my house. It wasn't as expensive as it is now because the value went up, and now I can't afford my taxes. So we implemented a senior tax credit. I'd like to see that tax credit expanded. I'd also like to see it expanded to disabled veterans. If you go to the eastern shore of Virginia, around Norfolk and places like that, their tax credit is expanded to disabled veterans, and I'd like to see ours do the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move on to our 1-minute closing statements. Once again, we're going to start down this end of the table with Mr. Shreve.
Thank you all for coming tonight. I've been in office for 4 years. My board has been very productive, possibly the most productive board in Frederick County history. We've eliminated over 265 taxes, fees, and policies that affect you directly. You used to have to pay $100 a year to have your alarm hooked up. You had to pay a dishwasher permit fee anytime you changed your dishwasher. We eliminated all that stuff. We added more hours to the permits office, so you can go in and in one evening get a permit for a deck. We've changed things to make it better for Frederick County. We're implementing a land trust now, and what that will do is make housing more affordable for anyone in the county who meets the criteria. It expands that range of what you can actually, provide housing for, so it makes the income less. We'll continue to do that when we get elected in December and sworn in. And if you have questions about anything from me, you can look at my website. It's believeandshreeve.com, or you can call me on my cell phone, 301-639-4763. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you all coming out here tonight on this very historic time in the new charter government of Frederick County. I love this county. I've lived here all my life. I've been through the Frederick County public school system, which is superb, and my kids went through the system. I didn't go far to go to college. I went to Hood College. I have a degree, a bachelor's in science and a business MBA. So I believe my experience in business and economic development, as well as the knowledge of the scientific industry here in Frederick, is very powerful to add to the council. I also have in-depth knowledge of a lot of the issues, having been there and having worked with many things. My ability to be open and to listen, which is what I've spent my career doing in business development, as well as economic development to citizens, is something I will continue to do, something I enjoy doing. I know where Frederick County has been, and I love the direction it's going, and I would make sure that I would work with all the citizens so they could have a place to raise their family, live here all their lives, and retire here like my entire family has done. So please consider your vote for me on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Otis.
You might ask why I'm running. I believe in servant leadership. I love people, and I love solving problems. I think I can apply those interests and talents to this new council. Having been a businessman and running a $25 million business, and the employees that are connected with that. So I love people, I love solving problems. I think we're headed for a serious tax problem in this state with the economy turning down, and we're going to face some serious budget issues as we are going forward in the future. I want to help manage the growth in a sensible manner, and I agree with Susan on the Economic Development Advisory Board. I've worked on those. I've been a member of those boards, and when it came time to bring companies in, those advisory board members were the ones who did the selling. And I'm happy to sell this county because I love living here.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Norris.
Thank you for being here. I'm tired of rhetoric, and so are the voters. I want to be a council person to be obedient to the rule of law and not flaunt the law. I want to respect the opinions of our citizens. I want to be transparent and not have backroom deals and not have people who don't trust the way things are being done. I want humility. I want to be a person who is humble and who's here on the council because of you. I want to be accountable. I want you to know that I will do what you ask me to do, that I will show up where I'm supposed to show up, and that I will do the homework. I want to be well-researched. I want to be independent, an independent voice for you, and I want to be compassionate. So I ask for your support on November 4th.
Thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause.